My name is Lori Bohner, and I'm from Denver, Colorado. Changes need to be made in the legal system. Right now, there are criminals getting away with torture, kidnapping, child trafficking, and crimes against their fellow man. These criminals are in the very courtrooms used to protect our children. They are therapists, lawyers, social workers, and judges in the family court system. I request from you that every parent facing termination of their parental rights be given a jury trial. The fate of a family should not be in the hands of one person, especially when the state receives financial incentives to adopt out kids in placement and in foster care. Families within the system should be given the right to choose their own therapists and treatment providers for themselves and their children, because providers paid for by the Department of Human Services poses a conflict of interest, which is not in the best interest of the child or the family. I request an independent auditing system to regularly review and monitor all DHS workers and their caseloads. This auditing system needs to be set in place to keep the department honest, ensure aid to families and children in crisis, and aid in quick reunification. My final request is that all financial incentive for kids in placement and in foster care be eliminated, or legal kidnapping will never stop. My child and I are victims of DHS, and she has been legally kidnapped. 4 years ago, I took my daughter to Children's Hospital for bipolar disorder. She was 7 years old, and I wanted to get her some treatment. Our family was going through a rough patch at the time. I was seriously injured in a car accident, 5 months pregnant, and homeless. Prior to that, I had a 6-figure income, and she was struggling with loss. They placed her on medication that dropped her blood pressure so low, they needed to monitor her every hour. I panicked and began educating myself on psychiatric drugs used on children, and decided it was not the medical treatment I wanted for my child. This, along with a disagreement about moving her to another facility, prompted Children's Hospital to get the Department of Human Services involved so they could continue to drug my child without my consent. We pled guilty to dependency and neglect through no fault of our own from homelessness. We obtained housing before London was released from the hospital, and we were expecting the department to let her come home. This never happened. The state contended that my mental health was not sufficient to parent London. However, I have another child that they have never gone after. I have multiple therapists advocating for reunification. I've had 2 psychological evaluations done by providers of my choice that advocate for reunification. My child began seeing therapist Chris Newland, recommended by DHS. After 3 weeks of seeing my child and making a statement that she had not made a lot of progress with her because London didn't trust her, she had determined that the state should not reunify. We had 3 in-home visits before they were abruptly stopped because the therapist made allegations that London had started acting out every time she saw her mother. My therapist contends that this is normal behavior for a child that is reintroduced to the family with a new baby in the home. They proceeded towards termination of my parental rights after 2 years on November 3rd, 2010. After a 3-day trial, the state won their case against me and my parental rights were terminated. I was not even allowed a goodbye visit with my child. 7 months later, the Colorado Appeals Court overturned the termination and remanded that I get a new trial. They determined that I received an unfair trial, that I had not received due process. The Supreme Court heard oral argument on this on October 3rd, 2012. I have still not gotten to see my child. The attack against the family unit harms the family and the children the law is supposed to protect. We would do well to heed the words found in the Holy Bible at Matthew 19:14. Let the little children alone and stop hindering them.